at unprecedented times just to keep all of you on your toes. Jonathan came to me this morning, was like, "Hey, you want to stream now?" I don't know. I've got a really bad hair day going on, and I don't think I can stream right now. So I had to go upstairs. I had to get a hat. I mean, look at how bad the hair is. You can't
Oh,
even.
man.
It's just awful. So really bad hair day. Really put me on the spot. But here we are, and you guys are probably all going to hate it because you're like, "I want to participate." And we're at 10 a.m. instead of 7 p.m. But you really never know when we're going to stream because we just kind of make this up as we go.
Isn't that the truth?
But Jonathan, you had a good weekend. You had a
Yeah.
good start to your weekend that I was not able to participate in because, family and stuff. I mean, who needs a family? But how'd it go? You said you were going to tell me more. You had some Kansas City guys over.
Yeah.
Looked at some projectors, the two projectors you have.
Well, no, we only used the Epson, but I'll tell you more on that in a minute.
And you probably made everybody watch on their phone, and you only did YouTube clips on the projectors. That's my guess for what.
Just to keep all expectations on the mix. No, we didn't watch. I don't think we watched any YouTube clips. See that? We just went straight to the movie, and
that
then
never happens.
The second movie. Yeah,
YouTube is never not part of the equation. And Jonathan,
exactly. We had some music playing off Apple TV when we first started, and then we went to the movie. So there was the host from the Kansas City Mwave Crawl plus Tim, my friend Tim, Stitch One on the forums, all came over last night. Ryan abandoned us at the last minute because he had some sports stuff he had to attend with his kid, which we understand.
I did. I mean, yeah, I don't have a joke for that.
Any rate, yeah, we had him over. We started watching Jurassic Park. We were going to watch just the first few minutes of it and then switch over to Dune 2, which was going to be like our title of the night.
Mistake.
Movie.
Mistake.
Yeah. I knew that going in, that once you start like a good movie, it doesn't even matter what it is. Like if it's an enjoyable movie that everyone likes, it's going to stay.
You can't do that with Jurassic Park. There's no, we're just going to watch part of the movie. That's not how that movie works.
Yeah. Isn't that truth? So we ended up watching it for 15 or 20 minutes, maybe 20 or 30 minutes. And I asked the guys, "Hey, I paused it and said, "Hey, should we switch out?" And one of the guys, Sheldon, was like, "I kind of just want to watch Jurassic Park now." So we finished watching that. And we had a good time. I made an MC error. I realized at the end of the movie, I kind of realized through the course of the movie that it was a little bit hot on the colors. And I was thinking, I'd made a couple tiny little toggles, like a couple ticks. I normally watch it at like 49 or 48 color saturation and 52 tint. Without getting into too much detail, I'd reset them just to 50-50 just to kind of have more out of the box experience. But what I hadn't realized is somehow I'd switched over to dynamic mode, and I still haven't tamed dynamic mode on that Epson QL3000. So the colors are a little off on that. And while we were watching it, I noticed it was just an SD Blu-ray. While we were watching, I thought the colors were a little hot. Like the greens are a little hot and the reds are a little hot. And I didn't quite remember it that way since I'd watched it fairly recently, but I was like, it's just in your head. You're being extra sensitive to things because you're hosting type deal. So we get to the end of the movie and I realized we were in dynamic mode the whole time, and that was that. So we would have liked it more in cinema.
Terrible. Mode. You're no longer allowed to host. I need to just kick you off.
It is a kind of.
See, he's not allowed to do it anymore. He's just a terrible MC, and he can't do it, and it's just a bad time. You need to be put in your place, put in the corner for doing terrible things, and that's what you deserve.
It's just kind of funny to me because it's one of those things where, like, I've said on many podcasts that QL3000's dynamic mode isn't quite very usable, and here we watched a whole movie without me, like, screaming, and none of the other guys screaming either. Like at the end, people were like, "I thought it might be a little hot, but it was okay." So that's how it was.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
It's close enough that nobody said anything. It wasn't egregious. Correct. It wasn't anything
like
that was awful.
What's wrong with your colors? No, it wasn't that.
It wasn't like the God projector from many years ago. It wasn't that bad.
So yeah, we made it through Jurassic Park, and the review on that thing would be like, in hindsight, we should have done the Dune 2 movie first because it has the better audio, right? Dune 2 has got incredible audio with Dolby Atmos and so forth, but the Jurassic Park is just an old Blu-ray with Dolby with DTS-MA. It doesn't even have like.
I feel there is a new version with DTS-X now, isn't there?
I think there is. I don't have that, so we just watch an old Blu-ray. At any rate, if you're going to showcase your theater to friends who haven't, some of the guys come over here all the time, but like Grant hasn't been over here in years, just because our schedules haven't matched. He's busy with kids and I'm busy with kids and whatnot. So if you're going to showcase your theater and the changes you've made, typically you don't do that with a 30-year-old movie, 30-year-old plus movie. So I don't know. There's just a little bit of that, like a little sensitivity to that on my side that I should have probably led with Dune 2. But everyone liked the Jurassic Park. It's fun. It doesn't have incredibly deep bass, but it's got fun bass, and the CGI still holds up well because it's it's just a good movie. It's
Well, a lot of
enjoyable.
it isn't even CGI. It's
Practical effects.
practical effects.
Yeah, it holds up very well actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then
So-
we switched over to Dune 2, and that's when I realized that I had it in dynamic color mode, and we switched to cinema mode. And at a certain point, like I was expecting, I told the guys up front, "Hey, we'll switch to the JVC at some point, and we'll kind of compare." And I asked. After a while, we watched Dune 2. They told me to turn frame interpolation off and try that. I like it on. Most of those guys liked it off.
I like it on.
So we watched Dune 2 without frame interpolation, and we did a couple toggling back and forth with that. We did do some testing with that a little bit. And Dune 2 has like it's top tier sound. That's
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super tier maybe, but definitely A tier as far as mixes go. And so there's a lot of oohs and ahs. The sandworm scene, riding the sandworm is just incredible. That first time that the main character rides the sandworm,
The final test, yeah.
Yes, that's such a good scene.
So in
Go ahead.
rewatching Dune, I had a realization. We talk about this a lot. I had historically thought that Dune was mixed way too hot because it is a loud movie. But I think that was before, because I'd never watched it in my current theater. I had watched it in my previous theater, and I didn't have that feeling again. Like I was at reference. I watched the whole movie at reference, and it was marvelous. Like just marvelous. There was a point that I'd never noticed before where there really wasn't much other bass, and I was getting hit with this infrasonic wave.
Oh yeah.
And the whole couch, like it was a pulse. It wasn't a hold. It was just this hit, and then it would go away, and then it would hit, and then it would go away, and there was no other bass going with it. It was just an infrasonic pulse that was happening. And I didn't feel like it was too loud. None of the voices were too loud. Everything was done really, really well. I'm excited to watch, if I have time, given all the sports, Dune 2 and see what I think. Because I think I watched Dune 2 before the theater. It was in that theater, but it was before we got everything tuned up. So I think it's going to be a different experience.
Yeah.
A different animal.
So we watched Jurassic Park at -8 because it's kind of got that older sound and it's a little tinny, in the mix. And then we watched Dune 2 at -3.5. We didn't go all the way to reference. I turned it up a little bit on the sandworm. I think we went just a couple dB hotter just to have a little bit more fun. But certainly could have done reference. I just didn't want to make everyone's ears hurt after being, Jurassic Park and then this. So yeah, there's in your original Dune movie you're talking about. I can remember several scenes that are just awesome.
They are.
When they first open the doors on that planet and the Atreides family or whatever is looking out, and it's just that super bright. Everyone can
With the
hardly see when
bagpipe,
they're introduced. Yeah, that's a fantastic scene. And then the very first time that they go to pick up the sandcrawler because the sandworm's coming, that's a fantastic scene. The night battle scene is a lot of fun with the explosions and the spotlights and everything. That movie, the original Dune, is fantastic, and the second one has equal, very memorable scenes.
A lot of time, it's one's better than the other, but those are just as good.
Yeah,
just as good,
very much.
So we were talking about Jurassic Park, and we were talking about it being DTSX, and you had a DTS version. And Jeffrey says that there's a brand new version that is Atmos Dolby Vision, and he's correct. It's actually on Kscape, and I think they released it on UHD as well. But they went from DTS to Atmos, so that's interesting.
That is interesting because a lot of times they try to keep that in the family.
But I guess they totally remastered it, so it's I'll have to go back and watch it because I don't think I've watched it in Atmos. I have it, but
and this is neither here nor there. But when Denon and Marantz had originally launched Atmos, they did not allow you to cross upmix. So if it was DTS master audio, you had to convert to Neural X. But that's changed. I had forgotten that had changed. But last night I noticed that I was in Dolby Surround with a DTS track, so that's allowed now. I mean, it has been allowed for years. But it had just came to mind. I was thinking, all right, that's something that never used to be allowed.
It's blasphemy. Blasphemous. I must say.
I used to do more comparisons like that, but for years I've just left everything in Dolby Surround as far as upmixing. I almost want to go back and just kind of compare Neural X versus DTS
We
Surround.
get it. You want
see.
everybody to think you're listening to your theater and you actually just have Apple headphones on. I get it. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
Just curiosity. I had concluded in my previous runs like that I liked Surround better because Neural X puts weird things. We've talked about this years ago, but we haven't talked about it in a long time. My experience with testing the upmixers pretty thoroughly is that DTS Neural X it did bad things on occasion, and Dolby Surround rarely does bad things as far as upmixing. And what I'm specifically talking about is, like, for instance, I sit here on the side of my room, my surround left speaker is right there. Like, if I reach out, I'm a foot away from touching it. If I'm listening to upmixed DTS Neural X with like Apple Music or anything else that it's upmixed, every once in a while a squawk or something weird that doesn't sound like it should be there will come out of that speaker, and you never have that happen with Dolby Surround. So that kind of stuff is something I've observed just because
I wonder though if it's a trade-off where do you feel like DTS-X or DTS Neural X is maybe more immersive when it gets it right?
It's more aggressive. Now, immersive maybe, but it does more with the wides, the front wides, and it does more up mixing, but at the expense of getting things wrong sometimes. That was my observation.
I mean, I think you can look at that in life. If you're going to be more aggressive and more of a risk taker, sometimes you're going to get it wrong. And maybe that's just the formula that DTS has taken, where they're going to try and utilize more of what you have at the risk of sometimes getting things incorrect.
Now, I don't know if they've made any like codec changes to the algorithm over the years. I haven't done these tests for probably 5 years, maybe 4 years. And so it's literally been like I leave my receiver in Dolby Surround, and if something Dolby Atmos comes on, it switches automatically, and almost everything else is Dolby Surround. I rarely change it.
What do you think about this?
I'm asking, but not normally.
What do you think about this? Miguel says, upmix absolutely everything to Oro.
Not for me, but I know there's a guy in Kansas City who thinks that same way.
Who?
Just not for me. Bill Mack.
Really?
Yeah, he's an Oro guy.
I feel like you're either all in on Oro or you're just...
Yeah.
Unless it's a truly mastered Oro piece of content. Because when it was content, if you've heard something in an Oro room that was mastered for Oro, whoo!
So
woo!
Kevin is the only one in Kansas City who I know that has like a true Oro setup, and even he is kind of like going back and forth. Like he doesn't use Oro for everything. I don't think Bill Mack has a true Oro setup. I think he just has like kind of a, you know how you can compromise a speaker placement and basically kind of like do where it's in the middle of the two recommendations. I think that's what Bill did with his. But he prefers music for sure for upmixing to Oro.
Do you think? So Mosin says, this is kind of off the topic of audio upmixers. The problem is that with high-end systems, you expect stunning picture quality, but many movies are poorly mastered or badly shot, falling short of expectations. How do you feel about that?
Many movies are poorly mastered. I think many movies are enjoyable, and few movies are poorly mastered, probably is what I would say that. I don't think it's many. Do you think it's many? Maybe it's because I steer clear of stuff I don't think is going to be rated well. Like, I value my time and only watch things that are ratings for the most part.
Like, guys, I watched Cocaine Bear last night.
I thought you watched that last week. Did you watch it again?
No, I actually finished it. Like, I got a little bit in and then I got sidetracked and I actually finished it. And like, I think people get so uptight about the expectation. And maybe I'm not your normal, like, what I have an expectation for. And Jonathan, I think you're the same way. I go in with zero expectations, like nothing. And maybe that's because I don't watch any trailers. I don't watch anything about any of the movies. I don't read any reviews. I don't do anything. I just turn the movie on and whatever happens, happens. So I have zero expectations about anything. The only thing that I notice, and Jonathan, maybe you notice this more with the QL, is there is way more film grain than people think there is. And you notice it a lot more with higher light capability projectors.
I think
a lot more. So then when you go back to like an animated piece of content, like, man, this is really smooth. There's no film grain. But That's the only thing I ever notice. I'm not going to sit there and think that a movie is bad because it has a substandard mix. If the story is captivating, it doesn't matter. If I'm pulled in, that's all I need. Now, if you give me a captivating story and something on top of that, yeah, it'll truly be memorable. But I don't not enjoy things because it has a substandard mastering. I don't think things are bad. Maybe they just don't go as over the top.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly tiers to discs and audio mixes and that kind of thing.
Do you think Dune is top tier?
I do. I think it's top tier. I would have. I mean, Sheldon was talking about last night that he thinks it's like super tier. He said he thinks it's every bit as good as like Blade Runner 2049. I'm not sure that I would agree with that. I think Blade Runner 2049 is an example of like super tier, and I think Dune 2 is throttling that line.
So Blade Runner makes me feel like I am there, like I am in that environment. But it's not just. This is the part that I think a lot of people overlook. It's not just the visual fidelity and the audio fidelity and how everything was mastered. The storytelling goes so far into this and making sure that what you're hearing and seeing plays into how the story is being portrayed. And Blade Runner, in both of them, the original and 2049, everything works together to create that truly immersive experience. And I think Jurassic Park does that really well too. Dune is really good. I don't think it's
really good.
I think it's A tier, like A plus tier. I don't think it's S tier. I don't think.
What would you say? This is curious, and maybe I shouldn't put us on the spot here because I'm not sure. I didn't even know my list. But what do you think? What's your super tier? Like, what's your? This is the best of the best.
The best of the best for a movie that people aren't really going to think about. A Star is Born is one of them.
I still haven't seen that one.
Because the concert scenes, it's like you're at the concert. Like you are there. And it is just phenomenally well done. The story is really good. It is just an exceptional piece of content. Another one, you're going to hate it. The story is atrocious, but it's Pacific Rim. Because everything, it fits so much into the atmosphere. Like it knows what it is, and it does what it is really, really well. That's, I think, a great one. I'd have to look through my list as far as Blade Runner 2049 is another one that will always be top. Interstellar does fantastic. You know a room is really well put together when you stop feeling like you're hearing the room and you feel like you're in the ship when they're going into the wormhole. Like you're like, oh, your room's falling apart. At least in my room, I feel like I'm in the ship. And I'm hearing the rattles all around me from in the ship. So that's the type of experience that I put at S tier, as I'm not watching the content unfold. I am in the content as it unfolds. And those three really do that. Those are Gravity.
Gravity's S tier for me.
Gravity's pretty good. Gravity's really good. You feel like you're out there with them as the things move around and stuff. It's pretty good. But I don't know that it's S tier because I don't appreciate the story as much as the other three. And I have to have all three in order for it to all work together.
I like it. I like Gravity's story as well. Gravity to me is an S tier audio mix is what I'm absolutely.
It is, absolutely. But for me to have something as truly S tier, it has to have everything.
Now,
everything.
Caution that with the fact that there's the majority of Gravity releases floating around are not Dolby Atmos. So couch my statement with the fact that I'm talking about the Dolby Atmos track. Because the DTS, or I don't even know if it's Dolby Digital or DTS, but I've listened to that one as well. It's not as good as the Dolby Atmos track. My picks for S tier audio would be Gravity. It would be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Dune throttles that line. Like when I'm talking S tier audio, I'm talking about there are like zero faults, no mistakes that you can hear. It's mastered like perfectly. Dune throttles that line, and Dune 2 throttles that line.
And my other S tier is A Quiet Place. I learned today that the little girl, and I don't remember her name, in that movie is actually deaf. And that was, I didn't know that. And the lengths they went to make that movie feel authentic were fantastic. So those 4, I'm going through my list right now to see what else I would throw in there. As far as having the complete package. For animated stuff, Wild Robot's up there.
I wouldn't put their audio at S tier. Like, that's a fun one.
It's probably
I personally wouldn't.
Probably those 4.
Would you put The Greatest Showman as S tier for audio?
I mean, if you're just talking about for audio, maybe. But I'm talking...
You're talking whole movie.
Whole movie, whole experience, everything. I mean, the other one we watched recently, maybe Warfare. I felt like I was there. I was stressed out by the end of that.
Yeah.
If I'm having an emotional response to a movie because I'm like there, they did a really good job. And when you guys saw it, my bass was anemic. Like, I went back and fixed some stuff, so it would have been better. It's a totally different experience in those firefights now, but maybe Warfare. My go-tos are Blade Runner, A Star is Born, and A Quiet Place. Pacific Rim's up there, but it's not quite as good as those 3. I know Jonathan puts it as like above S tier, S plus.
No, Pacific Rim's poop.
You're poop.
The audio's good. The movie's terrible.
I didn't say the story was good. That's why I kind of took it out of the full-on S tier lineup.
We have a lot of people joining us here. I didn't know, like we were talking about, we don't know if anyone will jump on since it's early and out of schedule, but look.
I know.
A lot of people are jumping in asking questions and stuff. And
I am starring questions. I got
paid attention to questions at all. I've been engaged with you.
You don't pay attention to anything.
I try. I just can't do
lost in the wilderness.
So another thing that happened last night, I think that my Blu-ray player has given up the ghost, which like we talked about just right before we jumped on here. It's always something that seems to happen at these.
Every time.
So we wondered if it was an HDMI or not. I think it's actually my Blu-ray player because we swapped HDMI cables and it still did the same place. But the weird part is it does it in one section. Remember when I told you Top Gun Maverick with a family here messed up about halfway through? We had to switch streaming. Now, same player. Now Dune 2 did it last night, but Jurassic Park played all the way through. And the disc is spotless on both Top Gun Maverick and Dune 2. It's about right in the middle of the movie. And I'm wondering if the layer change is what's messing up on my Blu-ray player. You know how the Blu-rays have to switch layers? And there's a little section where sometimes that will mess up with players. It's longer than a little section. It's like 2 minutes on both discs that are unwatchable. And I just wonder if that's the effect, like if something's happening there. So we switched over to Plex for a few minutes to get us through that section and switch back to disc on the Dune 2. I'm gonna have to try it in another player and make sure it's not my disc, but the fact that's happened to 2 movies now at about the middle of both of them, that's my suspicion.
Well, like I said, I've got one you can use because it's just sitting in a box.
It's a sad place for such a nice unit.
Well, in the grand scheme of things with Blu-ray players, it is nice, but it's actually on the lower end in comparison to a lot of the other stuff. Not that there's really a fidelic difference, but you get the idea. Kenny says Panasonic recommends unplugging and cold rebooting it by pressing and holding the physical power button. I had this happen to me and that worked. One-time occurrence, never happened again.
Okay, I didn't hold the physical power button like you say, but we did unplug it as one of the test things, and that didn't fix it. And I thought maybe, was it too much heat or is it getting hot? No, it's cold as ice. So that's not it. But I'll try your suggestion.
Anything else happened last night?
What's this? Did I remove the chip that kills that device out of warranty? To MW, is that a joke that I'm not getting, or is that something? What do you mean? I didn't physically modify my Blu-ray player.
It got upset that you were watching too much YouTube. All this guy does is watch YouTube. I'm not even used anymore. I want to play movies and just mad.
Yeah.
They haven't really changed that player hardly at all, if at all.
No, it's old in the tooth as far as the apps when it was created. Like
Oh
it's
man,
never
it's
the web
ancient.
interface is poopy.
Ancient. Remember when we thought that stuff was good? Oh man, I can use apps through my Blu-ray player. What a
Yeah,
great
but I
day.
don't think I mean since this thing came out, it was never good. Like the apps on it was past its like that didn't make sense to add that in there in my
All
opinion.
right. So we're staying on UHD players, I guess, for a little bit. Piper Boy. Why do people think the Oppo 203 is better than the UB820?
I have one static reason that will always stick, and that's that it can play MKV files, like ripped content with full
That's a
Dolby
big
Atmos,
deal.
and you can't do that with the Panasonic player.
Big deal.
It
And
will
the other
never
thing is that
sound.
the Oppos have a lot of granular control.
Why do you think Oppo went out of business? That was like the recommendation on AVS Forum for so long.
I don't know. I'm assuming it had something to do with money, but
Safe
I
bet.
don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The Magnetars I've had good luck with. I don't have long-term experience with it. They're basically Oppo clones. And Kenny says Oppo plays SACDs as well. And that's a big deal too.
I don't know very many people that play SACDs. There's a couple guys in Kansas City that have talked about it, but have you ever got into that arena? I haven't
No.
either.
No. No. Well, let's start answering questions. If you guys have any questions that you'd like answered or to have our opinion on, not that we're always right, we just like to provide our experiences. And if you guys have a correction for anything that we've said or you think we're wrong, please let us know because we do strive to be in the know.
I
and
want
not
to
be
say
spewing
one more
nonsense.
thing about the Dune thing, that the Dune 2 mix. The whole I need to add it to my rotation. The entire section where from the moment he goes forward with the people watching him to do his final test, they got the little what's that machine called that they drop in the sand that
The
makes the
thumper.
clumping noise? The thumper. When they drop that in the sand, the transducers do a fantastic job of making that sound hit your chair real impactfully, like real dynamically and impactfully on that thumper. The sandworm comes and it's the bass you can tell is like far away. It's like a nice rumbly, but it's not. They did the mix so well
They
when
did.
that sandworm's approaching. And then when it's there and you're just like when he's on the back and you're just in your chair, like vibrating, like intensely, like you're on the darn sandworm. And then the chorus comes in from the orchestra score and it's like building on that bass and it's like chill inducing. Then the crowd that are watching him succeed are all start cheering and it's one of those moments that you just have a grin on your face and you can't control it, and it's like the best of cinema. It's
It's a pretty
emotional.
good scene.
It's a fantastic scene. Like it's gonna go in my rotation. I have to make a clip of that.
It wasn't in your rotation already?
No,
Hmm.
I don't have a clip of it. I'm gonna make a clip of it.
Oh. All right. Well, I'm starring questions as they come in. So if you guys have questions, feel free to write them. It's first in, first out. Jonathan, can you do the pin questions? Do you have access to those?
Sure.
I'll star them as they come in, and you just put them up on screen.
Okay.
Top right corner pinned.
Got it.
And then as you put one on, just unstar it. No,
right.
No, not last in, first out. You got to go from the other side.
It's my first day, Ryan.
Obviously.
Ryan, your thoughts on the Mag brand of speakers, which nowadays many influencers are seen reviewing. MAG. I don't even know MAG. I'm not
Bring
Ryan. Do you know
Bring
MAG?
No. What is Mag?
Why haven't I heard of this? Sometimes we're on this podcast and we think like, we're new here.
I am new here.
I am not new. I've been in this hobby
everything.
for almost 30 years and I don't know what Mag
You just watch YouTube videos, so just stop. That's all you do. It looks like they're
looks
PA.
like a big cinema speaker, a pro audio, commercial audio type thing.
I don't have how big are these?
There's a lot
They're
of different
big
models, and they even have some that look more home residential one, like this Theatron Falcon. So
Theatron Falcon. Oh.
Yeah, on their speakers page, it looks like more of a home audio. Almost looks like Paradigm. Not Paradigm. What's the brand that's become Per Listen? That's what I'm trying to say. with the little kind of checkered flag carbon fiber type thing on the Theatron?
Oh, I don't see these.
Here, I'm going to share my screen because the audience
Okay.
has no idea what we're talking about right now. So let's
So
do
I
that.
guess he's talking specifically about Mag Theatron. So you're on the right path. I just see all their commercial stuff. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that does look like.
So right here, that looks like a per listen or a per listen speaker, doesn't it? Kind of in that realm with the speaker driver. You see what I'm seeing?
Yeah, it does, kind of.
Continuous SPL 117. That's a nice rating, assuming legitimate. Free response is fine. Sensitivity 93.5. That's usually good enough to get you to reference ish. What size drivers are these? Overview. Is this the one he's talking about? Oh,
I would
here we go.
assume so.
4 6.5 and 4 2-inch and 3 3.5 or 3 3-inch. Yeah, I mean that driver will get you to reference area. I mean that's not too dissimilar from what my CVTs are doing, so that'll get you to reference.
What's their price?
They don't. It's if you have to ask, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't advertise their prices, but maybe they only sell. Did you do a search on just a Google search or web search and see what comes up?
I did, and I didn't see anything. Data sheet? Yeah, they don't provide any drawings or any measurement data.
Yeah, I mean this type of design is completely reasonable to do well. So sometimes we caution you just based on the stereotypical designs that you guys bring forward and be like, I don't know about that. This kind of design, I'm comfortable saying they'd probably have to mess it up to not hit reference, because we always talk about an 8-inch woofer will usually get you there. Well, look what's on here, an 8-inch woofer. And then they got these compression drivers of some sort that are, when you see max continuous SPL and they're saying max continuous and it's in the 118 rating, that gives you enough fall off buffer at distance. Usually lose 9 or 10 dB, maybe 8 dB, maybe 11 dB to your seats, depending on how large your room is and how far away you sit from the main screen. You want 105 for those dynamic peaks at your reference. So if you lose 10 dB off that, you're at 108. So you still have a little bit of headroom.
Well, and that's continuous. That's not max peak.
Precisely.
Yeah, so that's
peak would usually
good.
be about 6 dB more. Which means that you're going to have enough headroom with this type of speaker. So yeah, I mean, without knowing anything about the brand, like I say, you'd kind of have to work to mess it up given the component selection they chose. So it's probably pretty good. And people are probably mocking us on here because we're so out of the loop that everyone knows about this brand and somehow we don't.
Probably. I can't say that I would recommend them because I've never heard them and I don't have any data on them. But based on what we see on their website, take that with a grain of salt. I don't see any problems with them. Hard to make a recommendation if you don't have dispersion data, compression, all that kind of stuff. But it's better than a lot of the stuff out there. Most of the stuff out there.
Do you have any experience with Yugos AM6 Plus? Some said Dolby Vision is better tone mapping compared to NVIDIA Shield Pro or Apple TV.
I don't know what that is either.
So I don't know what they're asking really, because Apple TV can do Dolby Vision. Can NVIDIA Shield do Dolby Vision? I mean, Apple TV supports it, period.
I don't know if the NVIDIA Shield can do Dolby Vision.
Let me web search that real quick. I don't have an NVIDIA Shield. Dolby. I'd be kind of surprised if they won't, but let's see. Yeah, it does enable Dolby Vision.
The 2019 model probably does it, and the 2017 doesn't.
Yeah, so I mean, Dolby Vision is not going to be different between these products. Like there is a Dolby Vision standard. That's the point of it. So if you have it on the AM6 Plus and you have it on the Shield Pro and the Apple TV, it's going to be the same. For the tone mapping, there could be other things they're doing. They could be introducing some sort of like sharpening or motion or, like different qualities that could change the picture. But the tone mapping is what seem to be asking about, and that's going to be the same. Do you agree, Ryan?
I would agree.
Okay. So then let's go to the next one. Better to place a Bluetooth player at the AVR or the projector. Bluetooth has both audio and video out, HDMI cable length. It doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about that as long as you're getting an HDMI signal. If you run more than about 15 foot of HDMI, you're probably going to want to switch to optical if you're in the cheap consumer cables. They don't like to run over, I mean, 15 foot is even pushing it, but that's kind of like a max threshold for most. I know Ryan has some exceptions in the higher Uber gear, but for most consumer gear, 12 or 15 foot is going to be your limit for physical cables. So then at that point, you're looking for like an optical cable that has a sender and a receiver unit that's transcoding it, encoding it, sending that digital over fiber. And that will work pretty much for any length that you could possibly want in your home. I mean, 300 foot is fine with optical cable. So you're going to pay what? For an optical cable, you're going to pay $80, $90 probably, even on the consumer side, as like a from Amazon type thing. I'm not talking from a boutique.
Yeah, you're going to be somewhere between 100 to, excluding the really expensive ones.
Yeah, I mean, you can spend as much as you
$100 to $300.
want on an HDMI cable because the sky's the limit if you go to boutique stuff.
Yeah.
I have my Blu-ray player right here on my desk, so it's neither near nor my projector or my AVR. I have a 20-foot.
But do you run it through the AVR?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's like a 20-foot optical cable going to my AVR and a 50-foot optical cable going to my projector. And until last night and until recently, it works fine.
Yeah, I would put it behind the AVR and just send everything through the AVR. It simplifies everything.
Sure. The only reason mine's on my desk is because I'm just out of rack space. I filled it up and I needed the extra space.
Just make the hole bigger.
I do. I could use a bigger rack.
Nothing wrong with a bigger rack, Jonathan.
What are we talking about, Ryan?
I
can get a Dune HD Pro Vision 4K media player for $260, or a Xido Z9X Pro 4K HDR media player for $315. Which one's better? Or are they similar? Using to play ISO, MK, MP, I don't have this answer. I
think a lot more people use the Xido than they do Dune.
I've used neither. Have you used either of those?
I've used both. I don't think it really matters. There's a lot more Xidus out there than Dunes. So I've probably just
read about these
say
things on
either's
occasion
fine.
on the forums.
We use Xidu, so we use a Xidu with MadVR when we travel as a source. It's super easy to use. It does what it needs to, and it doesn't get in the way. I've never used it as a NAS, but we just plug flash drives in, and it reads everything that we throw at it. So based on my use case, I'm just going to say Zune. We've beat the ever-living hell out of those Zune players. They got stuff rattling around in them, I mean, and they still work. So
when you say Zune, that's like an old Microsoft portable player.
Sorry, not Zune. The Xidu players. Sorry. Yeah. We beat the ever-living hell out of the Xidu players, and they do fine. So my suggestion would be Xidu, but I don't think you're really going to gain anything between the two. My main thing is there's more Xidus out there in the wild than there are Dunes. That's my 2 cents.
I would try to find, a head-to-head YouTube video from someone you trust and see if they can showcase what they're seeing. The UI might come into effect. If they got bugs and firmware history, updates, that kind of stuff, play into all those decisions. Next one. Miguel says, my job is upgrading their Control 4. Should I take it home? Still works fine. It's an HC500. Ryan, any opinion on that? That's not my wheelhouse.
Miguel, are you able to change the Control 4? Like, do you have access into changing the configuration and doing what you need to for it? If you don't, I wouldn't. Like, listen, I have had all of them. I've had Control 4, I've had Savant, I've had Crestron, I've had RTI. They are all now sitting in boxes, and I'm using HD Web Remote, which works so much better. I have full control over it. I'm a dealer, so I have full control over the other ones, but I don't want to sell something to somebody that I wouldn't want to use myself. Like, why? It's an ethical issue for me to sell somebody something that then they have to come back to me in order to change. Sure, if they want me to pay me to come out and fix the HD Web Remote, that's great, but they can do it themselves. So ethically, I don't like any of the control systems. I think they're dumb. But if you have access to it, I think they're It'll work. It's got some nice like cookie cutter things that you can do. It's kind of a pain in the butt to do some more complicated stuff. You got to pay for drivers and things a lot of times. If that ticks the boxes for you, fine. But I would look at HD Web Remote on AVS.
I don't like any of them. I think they're dumb, Ryan says, as the dealer for any of those things that you want.
They suck. I got no problem making people up happy.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what people tune into us for, because we give our opinion.
Or maybe they just tune in because we're always wrong. I don't know.
Looking to build dual SI24 seal, need an amp. I have an NX 6000D, but might be weak for that. PV-IPR 7500. I don't want to spend speaker power money. That's Jeffrey saying that he's looking for an amp.
Do you have anything wrong with that iNuke?
No, the NX 6000Ds are good for about 1700 watts per channel. Those SI24s would take more than that. I think
they can
at this point.
They can. It depends on how far down he's trying to go. I mean, you got to remember, what that's going to push out at like 1700 watts. You're going to gain 3 dB going to
3400 watts.
3400.
Yeah.
Do you need that? If you don't, use the iNuke.
Yeah, your sound quality is not going to improve, and nor is your low hertz performance going to improve by switching amps. The NX 6000D is objectively a pretty good amp for subwoofers, but you're limited to that 1700 watts. And Ryan nailed it. If you doubled the power, you'd only get 3 dB more. So do you need that?
Do you need it?
Yep.
The iNukes they can be loud though,
but they're not really. They used to be. That's kind of changed.
Oh, it has.
Yeah, I mean, the new NX 6000s are fairly quiet.
Oh, okay.
And they never ramp up.
Jeffrey, if you don't need that last 3 dB, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, or you could buy them at a sale price. I've told you guys this before. I'll say it again.
He has them. He has it already.
Oh.
He has the iNuke.
Oh, yeah. Well, I missed it. I'll expand on this just for a second because I think it's worth knowing. Musicians Friends has those NX 6000Ds for $450, and every holiday, Musicians Friends will have a 10 or 15% off coupon, like clockwork. The coupon won't be applicable to Behringer products if you try to apply it online, but if you call in to a customer service representative and say, hey, I have this coupon, I'd like to apply it to this product, it says it doesn't work, inevitably they will give you the coupon. Everyone I know has tried this, it has worked. So you can get your 15% off at a holiday on that if you're in the market for such. Okay, so there used to be a product called a Crown XLS 5000 and a Sherwin Vega 5000. Those were like a legit 5,000 watts that you could bridge, and you could do that to a 24s, but you'd have to find that thing on the used market now.
Do they have the undefeatable filter though down low?
They don't have a filter on them because they don't even have a DSP. They're just old iron amps, and they were a good choice for something that was a high power use.
Because that's something that a lot of people need to remember is a lot of the pro amps, you're not going to get much below 20 hertz. It's just flat, and then it's just going to fall off a cliff.
They have a high pass filter engaged because in pro audio, you do not want that real low frequency. It can blow subs and speakers and stuff on the stage. So, yeah. All right. Next one. Piper Boy says, I have an Anthem AV90 that sounds similar to the Trinnov Attitude 16. Do you guys hear a difference between the AVM90 and the Trinnov? I haven't heard an AVM90. I've heard Anthem.
Yeah, you have.
Who?
Mwave.
Where? Which room?
When we did the AVR comparisons.
Oh, well then
there was an AVM90 there. It's you put any of these with no EQ, no configuration, well, making the configurations the same, no EQ, you're not going to hear a difference.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we feel like a broken record on this kind of topic. These things are all above human audible thresholds. So a Synad score of about, I think Gene from Audioholic says 72 in one of his reviews is about where human hearing stops being able to discern. These products are rated anywhere from like the high 80s to the 100 dB Synad. So you're talking significantly higher thresholds than what human ears can detect. So what you're actually listening to at that point is their auto EQ systems or their specific curves they're targeting or their delays in the setup as far as like the speaker phasing, that kind of thing, distance settings, EQ, crossovers, all those things, the bass treble balance. That's what you're hearing, not the quality of electronics.
Yep. So in this case, I would say capability-wise, Trinnov, hands down. You've got way more control. Way more control. The EQ, in my opinion, better. It's just you have more options. You have more control with the Trinnov. If you don't need what the Trinnov offers you, there is no reason to get the Trinnov. It's not going to help you. It's the same with Storm. It's the same with any of these. As Jonathan said, he hit it 100%, is if you do not need or cannot take advantage of what these higher-end pre-pros offer, it is not worth spending the money. If you can, you want more EQ control, you want the different types of filters, you want things like art, or you want things like waveforming, or things that Dirac, the higher versions of Dirac are doing, the more taps, the things that the optimizer are doing, and all of that stuff, absolutely. If you're not, you don't need the channel count, you don't need any of this, save your money. Spend it on the room. Spend it on more subs.
Yeah.
Don't spend the money unless you need to.
And it's not, and I'll even say one step more. It's not necessarily just this high-end type product that's indiscernible if you're not using those bells and whistles. It goes all the way down to like the mid-tier receivers that are above human hearing. And I'm talking like, say the $600 to $800 MSRP retail. That's where you're crossing that threshold into indiscernible territory.
Yeah.
Besides the bells and whistles and the features.
Yep. And guys, I sell Trinnov. I sell Storm. I talk people out of them all the time because they don't need them. Now, if somebody can take advantage of them, they need the higher channel counts, they want the different types of filters, I'll push for them because they're able to take advantage of it, and it will make the overall experience better. But if you can't, save your money. People overlook the room. We want these sexy new toys. People need to be spending. There was a question that I saw earlier. Jonathan, you want to find it? I think I pinned it. It was somebody asking about room rattles. People buy equipment instead of fixing the underlying issues that are occurring in their room. In a lot of cases, they could be spending money on the room, fixing things and getting a much greater return on their dollar than spending money on the hardware.
Are you talking about shaming Ezra here? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not shaming him. I'm just saying I'm using it as an example. Yeah, Ezra, you're wrong. I'm just using it as an example. I don't know. I'm just using that as an example. Ezra, I'm not saying that this is your case. I was going to address your question, but...
is this the comment you wanted to bring to light in the context of that conversation?
Yes.
Or was it a different one?
Yes, it was this one. So for Ezra...
he has to define shake first off. Is he talking about like he doesn't like is he on this wooden suspended floor and it's shaking his...
No, it's probably like his
screen, his
drywall
image,
shaking against the studs.
The cabinetry, the dishware is shaking in the cabinetry. What are we talking about here?
I don't know. But my guess is it's the drywall shaking against the studs and there's rattles and things moving around.
Ezra, if that's the case, you got to just go put more screws in your drywall. I do that like every few years where I just go around and like screw everything back down tight again and then use a little putty and paint and you're back to normal. And that just, with 2 JTR type capabilities, that's where you're at, man. You will shake things loose.
But I also think this comes around. You can bring the question.
I'll be right back.
Okay. I think this also comes around a lot when people's subs are a little bit out of phase or they're fully out of phase, because what ends up happening in those situations is they push volume way up in order to chase the tactile feel, because they want the tactile feel, but they're pushing the SPL way up, and that creates an inordinate amount of rattle. And what I have noticed in a lot of people's setups is that if you get things more in phase, you need less in order to get the tactile feel, and you have a much flatter response across the way. Thelma! She's attacking Jonathan. I found the man that was talking through the little orb-like speaker. I found him. Would you agree, Jonathan, that in a lot of situations it can be a phase problem and people are chasing the tactile feel and probably running too much SPL?
Yes, absolutely, that can be true. I don't know if it's always the case, but it's a certain...
No, but it happens a lot. It happens a lot. And if you get things in phase and really dialed in, and you get that hit from the kick drum or any of the drum or any of that mid-bass feeling at a lower SPL, it all just comes back together. Like, is a perfect example. When we found that phase issue where I had 2 subs in the back that were out of phase, we were able to bring some things down in order to get the same feeling of bass, and that in and of itself got rid of a rattle that I had in the room. I don't hear it anymore. So check your response. Check the phase, use a wavelet, look at what's going on, and that would be the first place that I would start. And then if everything's perfect, then go to what Jonathan said and start attacking the room, screwing drywall down. You can use...
You can hear it. To pause there for a second, you can hear those rattles if you just get up and walk around the room.
That's what I was just going to say.
If you could think you hear something off to the right, like I did last night when we were watching Dune 2, you walk up and you walk next to that drywall and you can pinpoint it and you can feel it. You put your hand on the wall, you can feel where it's a little bit more loose, and you just tack a couple screws into the stud, get a stud finder and fix it.
You can use like a sine wave. Just don't leave the sine wave on for long periods of time. Turn it on for a few seconds, find a rattle, and just increment up in frequency. So start at X, go up a hertz, and start chasing the rattles around your room and see where things are rattling. Walk around. And when you find one, screw it down, make it go away, and address it. That's how you chase that stuff. You don't just play the same piece of content over and over and over. You're going to go mad. So start simple. Take as many variables out as possible and address from there.
Okay. Back to the next pinned comment here. Joseph says, hey guys, from Malta here. What do you think about the SVS SB17 in comparison with do-it-yourself? I already have twin SB3000 in my 16 by 11 foot room. Thanks. SB17 is not a bad sub. We've talked about that being before. What size driver's in the SB3000? We ask this every once in a while. I always forget. SB3000 size.
13?
13-inch driver. 4 inches is a significant difference in displacement between like a 13 and a 17. The difference between a 17 and an 18, as far as in comparison to yourself, if you're talking about 18-inch driver, is not going to be that consequential. Like 1 inch difference is not going to be that consequential. SVS has nice amplifiers. They have nice quality drivers. They have usually reasonably sized boxes. They're a good option. Like they have nice DSP that can be controlled from your phone. You'll know all this since you have it. It's a good option. The difference is going to be that an SB17 is going to cost you like close to $3,000. Is that right? Let's look it up.
I mean, I think they'll do a trade-in on the SB3000s to save a little bit of money. How big's the room? 16 by 11? That's not a huge room.
I'm trying to still find the price here. So SB17 is $2,500 on sale, and an Ultra Revolution is $2,800. Probably the difference in finish, I would assume. The difference is that you can put together a do-it-yourself like UM8 Ultramax 1822 for $500 with a box and sub, and then you have to buy an amplifier, and you can split half of a NX6000D like we talked about earlier. So you're looking at $400 for one of those amps. So it's $200 an amp per side. So the total all-in price for a do-it-yourself driver is $700 for 18 or $1,400 for 2, whereas you're going to pay $2,500 for 1. So that's the difference. And your fit and finish is up to you, like what you do with the do-it-yourself.
If he wants to go that route.
You won't have the phone DSP, but the quality and sound will be very similar between the two, like very similar. So you just have a choice. How handy do you feel? And it's not hard to put together like a do-it-yourself box. They're a jigsaw puzzle, basically. Like anybody can do it. So yeah, make your choice, man. They're going to be very similar.
Do you think he should upgrade from the SB3000s to the SB17 or Ultimax?
I think it'd be a noticeable difference, in fact. I mean, it depends on how that he plays it, right? Because different people have different expectations.
So he clarified and he said he's planning on adding.
So since he's doing sealed, he could just add an SB17 and not even take, doesn't have to trade it out or swap. Sealed play well together, usually. Unless they have some of the cheaper sealed. I don't think SVS does this, but some of the cheaper sealed will have a HPF on there that will cause the same problems as if it was ported when they're trying to play together with an expensive one. But SVS isn't going to have that issue. So you could just add another one if you want, Joseph. You're not going to hurt anything. And for that matter, you could keep your SB3000s and add a Ultimax or whatever driver your choice. Now, if you really want to like shake things up and you want a lot more bass, you might consider a 21 or a 24-inch driver too in your room.
50.
32 or 50. Yeah. So he's from Malta, though. Those options may not be available. And I don't know what an SVS costs in Volta versus do-it-yourself. Like, I'm talking American prices, and it could be very disparate from that for him. Okay, so next one. Maject 60 flats, 17 by 12 by 9 room, PSA 2, XS30s near field. I'll be adding 2 Ultimax 18 sealed. Will be a dramatic improvement. Running LFE only through the subs. So you'll have the XS30s now near field, and you have no far field subs, and you're adding 2 more to be far field. That's
I think that'll help.
Case. It will help, but I'm kind of surprised that he's running if he only has 2 subs now and he's running both near field. That kind of surprises me.
Yeah, that surprises me too.
That. I didn't like that because you can tell the audio is coming, the bass is coming from behind you.
Yes.
So like
adding the 2 Ultimax is going to improve immersion.
Yeah, so what you'll probably find, and maybe it doesn't bother you, which is why you can do it now. But if you want your soundstage to be anchored to the front of the room, it's nice to run those front subs, whichever ones you run up front, a couple dB louder than your near field. So it helps to not localize the bass. But if it doesn't bother you now, then that's probably not an issue for you. Yeah, I agree. That will be an improvement.
I think it'll be an overall improvement in immersion.
Okay, next one.
I'm not starring anymore because I've got to go in 30 minutes.
Ezra says, I'm sure this is old news, but did Mwave 2012 happen or will it be happening? I looked online for information, but I couldn't find anything, and I haven't seen any videos uploaded yet of the event.
No Mwave 2025. We're doing 26. I've been not fighting with the convention center, the World Cup. It's a small event, the World Cup, and it's in Kansas City. And the event date that we were going to do, it's too close and hotels would have been a nightmare. So we're waiting on some other dates in July or August for next year. There was a date in May that I was going to do, but there's not enough days for setup. So that wouldn't work. It's coming just next year.
Blake says, would a triaxial driver make a good speaker for home theater? The BNC 18 HDX 100, 18 or 15 triaxial. BMS makes an 18, 15, and 12 driver also. I would like a system like Jonathan's to be possible with matching speakers. So BNC triaxial. Again, this is our first day, so you'll have to give us a chance as we look this up.
We've never dealt with speakers or projectors or TVs before. We're making this up as we go.
Why do you guys come to us for advice on things we never heard of? Here, let's take a look. I'll share my screen and we'll talk through it. Okay, can you see it, Ryan?
Yes.
Let's take a look. I'm reading 18-inch woofer with a compression driver together. I feel dumb sometimes. Like, this isn't a thing. I didn't know this was a thing till just
I didn't know this was a thing either.
Okay, let's take a look here.
And BNC makes solid speakers.
Yeah, they're
solid subs.
One well-known company for sure.
They're really good.
60 by 40 coverage for the compression driver. This isn't a deep dive woofer. This is a mid-bass type woofer. 44 hertz to 1800 hertz response. What kind of excursion are we looking at on this?
MW says no, they measured the triaxial and the dispersion was not good.
Well, but that's not 40 and 60 is what they're advertising. That's like a choice. That's not saying it's not good. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. There's horn speakers you buy because you want that kind of dispersion.
But he may be saying it's not consistent. Like, it could be all over the place.
I don't know. I'm not going to disparage BNC with something that's just like...
Yeah, I agree. I'm just stating what Chad has said.
So here's your excursion. 13 millimeter pretty low for 18.
That's pretty low, but it's designed for this purpose.
I don't think this is meant to be a sub. This is meant to be like a full tower type speaker. You would complement this with subs. Nice crossover point, 600 hertz horn, which means that you got a lower crossover point. That seems to be pretty popular with high-end stuff.
I don't know that I like the added, because it's a triaxial, right? So it's 3 drivers.
I need more time to know exactly what
3 drivers. I don't like the added crossover. I'd want to go the other way. I'd want less crossovers, not more.
So this says recommended crossover is 4 kilohertz.
Yeah, I think
for the high frequency unit. So yeah, you're right. It's a 3-way unit: low frequency, medium frequency, high frequency. So you got 44 to 800.
The tweeter is seated in the mid, and the mid is seated. Both of those are seated in the woofer.
You got 500 hertz to 5.5 kilohertz, and you got 3.5 kilohertz to 18,000 kilohertz. If you're thinking about putting something like this as in like a single coax type driver, like a little sealed box to cover this, that could be fantastic. I mean, a
little sealed box 18-inch woofer.
A lot of people like these type of speakers. Sure. I mean, and it doesn't have to be 18. I think he said they had 15 and 12s too, right?
Why do that over a coaxial?
Because this is a coax. It's a style of coax. I mean, it's triax.
I would rather I'd have less drivers. I'd rather have less drivers.
Instead of a 2-way, it's a 3-way.
I don't like 3-way.
How can you not like something you haven't heard? I don't know about that.
Because it's got more crossovers. I don't want the crossover. Get rid of that.
I'm going to take a little different stance than Ryan on this. I bet you that this is a nice driver, and I bet you it would be a nice choice. And if you have some do-it-yourself capability and you're willing to put the elbow grease in, I bet you'll really like this.
I'm sure it's fine.
And it's going to have headroom for days, and you can EQ it any way you like. So I'm not sure about the frequency response out of the box. It looks like, I can't even tell that it's so small, even on my side. So small.
I don't like the phase changes.
So, all right, fair. But I mean, this is a pretty raunchy frequency response, frankly, raw. But it's got headroom for days, like I talked about, and you can EQ what you want. This is not something you'd probably drop in without EQ. You're going to need to EQ it.
Yeah, but that response isn't using a crossover or anything. It's just all the drivers individually. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to be boosting up, anywhere from say 100 hertz to 500 hertz pretty nicely, because you're looking like here's 95 dB. You're at 95 dB range to 100 dB range, and that mid frequency driver is very efficient and very capable, and it's at 110 dB on the sweep, and the high frequency is in that same realm. So you're going to be boosting that woofer quite a bit to get a flat frequency response.
Yep.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just
everything's wrong with it.
It's part of the design parameter. You will have to.
Everything's wrong with it. I did see on there. Did I see 1600 watts continuous?
Yeah.
Woo!
That system will not sound like mine, Blake, and that's okay. I'm not saying it has to. I'm just saying if you think that you're trying to like match the type of sound that we have, those are such different designs. And there's nothing wrong with that design. I'm not saying there is, and there's nothing superior about my design. I'm not saying that there is. They're very, very different. So you're talking about a 40 to 60 dispersion pattern, and mine are 150 and 28 dispersion pattern. So right off the gate, tremendously different in their coverage design intent. And then that's a point source speaker, and a point source speaker, we've talked about this just in summary. A point source speaker is the kind of design where if you took a pistol and you were blindfolded and you were listening to a speaker, you could hit it dead center because everything's trying to be aligned to a single point. I've said this before, and I still fully think so. If you had my CBT playing and you had me off axis a little bit, or if I had a pistol, I would get in the vicinity, but I would not be able to hit dead center of that speaker. Like, that's not the design choice. That's not the way it does. The line array adds a little bit of like, there's a little bit of delay between the way the speakers arrive. It's not all matched, and it's a completely intentional choice for both designs, and they're going to have a different presentation.
So what Jonathan is saying is that his way is the right way, and any way you choose is wrong.
It's not what I said at all. Next
question. Good question.
Kenny says, do you guys think that I will be able to see the texture of an XY SoundMax 4K woven AT screen? I'm getting the Elite Screen's acoustic UHD, which is the same from 7.5 feet away.
Yes.
7.5 feet is pretty close, man.
Yes, you'll be able to see it. I have no doubt you'll be able to see it.
I'm not familiar with that material, but
It's a
that
pretty
seems
tight
like a
weave.
safe bet that you
It's
would
a pretty
probably.
tight weave, and I
Right.
would put it on par with the tightness of weave like a Harmony. And it's 7.5 feet. You're going to be able to see it, unless you have not 20/20 vision. Maybe you have some deteriorated vision. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe not, but I would not go into that situation thinking that you're not going to be able to see the weave, because you will, especially in all white.
I want to rewind just a second because I didn't get to finish my complete thought, or maybe I thought of more sense on the point source versus the wide dispersion speakers. Just to clarify that, I said they're very different. That's true. What I want to clarify and elaborate on is kind of the dispersion element of the sound if you're listening to like a movie soundtrack. So point source, you're going to know exactly where the sound is coming from every time. That's the described and designed intent. If something comes from a side channel, you know exactly where that sound's coming from. It's very clear. It's very pinpointish. These CBTs are not in that same design or intent phase at all.
Because they suck.
If something comes from a sidewall, you can say it came from the left side, but I don't know exactly where it came from. I can't pinpoint the speaker. I don't know exactly the precise trajectory, the telemetry of that speaker. I can't blind point over there and shoot it. I can say it came from the left wall. So that's what I wanted to clarify, to make sure that I understood, the customer understood what was going on here. Customer, used to my work role. Okay, so next one. Nicholas says, bouncing off my question about older versus newer mixes from last week, what do you guys say to people that say most home mixes are near-field mixes, or that Dolby Atmos sounds fake? Sounds fake.
Sounds fake.
Fuck. That one didn't. I didn't intend to say anything there. That sounded worse than I didn't intend that. Most mixes are near-field mixes, or that Dolby Atmos sounds fake. No, that'd be my answer.
I think in a properly set up space, no, they don't sound fake. In a space like in a new home build where you have no acoustic treatments, it's more of a media space, it's all just drywall, and then you have the speakers. Yeah, probably.
I don't think that they're near-field mixes. First off, like I don't think that that's true. Generally speaking, and so certainly not on the type of movies that we're trying to talk about or prescribe here. And that Dolby Atmos sounds fake. No way. Like, where's that coming from? Maybe.
I think on the my thing would be the bigger the room, the better they're going to sound.
Yes. And I generally think there's very rarely a Dolby Atmos mix that I don't like more than the original track if it's an upmixed, or than the downmixed one if it's not.
I don't know of one that I like less.
I have run into a couple movies where I thought the upmixed sounded very, very, very good, and almost potentially better than the Atmos, because the upmixer sometimes makes it a little bit more aggressive than the Dolby Atmos does.
Mm-hmm.
But I've not run into any Dolby Atmos mixes yet that I didn't like. I mean, like, that's not to say the Dolby Atmos mix is bad, but I think on the forums, there's a few examples where people say that mix works better, but that's not common. That's not the typical result.
Jonathan, I got 10 to 15 minutes left.
Okay. Lightning round. Kelly, any more thoughts on my rant in the comments on the previous live stream about most people not needing high SPL speakers and subwoofers, as most people have smaller rooms and don't play at reference? If I remember right, Kelly was from overseas.
Yes.
And said, hey, we don't have big rooms and we don't have the capability to play things that loud, and most people don't do that anyway. And he said something like high 90% don't do that. And you're right. But that doesn't mean that we agree with you.
Well, if it's your use case, sure. But if you're going to buy and spend the money, wouldn't you want something that can do it?
Yeah. So
that's my thought.
I mean, I'll just give the example of last night again. Playing Dune 2 at reference volume in here when that sandworm is going, just when you come to the United States and you come to Kansas City, Missouri, look me up and I'll show you exactly, and Ryan will do the same. We'll show you exactly why reference level capability is fantastic. It's emotion inducing, man. It's chill inducing. You're watching that scene and you're getting choked up, and like you could have a tear come from your eye because it's like so intense. And you don't, if you watch that scene at -20, you're not going to get that. There's a flight or response type thing, a fight or fight response that kind of elicits from some of those things, and it affects your emotions in a way that you can't do with less intense
Well, here's a good example. If I'm
interaction.
watching Imagine Dragons or A Star is Born, you're not going to feel like you're there if you're playing at -20 or -30. You put it at reference, you are in the audience in those pieces of content. You are there. And every time I play that as a piece of demo material for people that haven't experienced it, the thing they always say is, I was there. Like that felt like I was watching them live. And you're not going to get that experience if you're -20, -30. Sure, you can have a great experience or a good experience if that's what you're after. And if you're limited by other people around you, not wanting to piss off neighbor, I get it. I totally get it. But saying that you don't need it, I don't really buy that.
Yeah.
I think if you can do it and you're spending the money, in my opinion, you should get something that is capable of it, even if you're not going to push things that hard, because people don't think about this, but dynamics are a huge, huge part of this experience. And if you have a speaker that's going to compress, you may not know it, but once you get into a space or listen to a speaker that's not doing it, or it's conveying it in a more effortless way, there's no going back.
Yeah. To me, this feels, car analogies are usually dumb, but there's a car analogy here that could work here. That you say, like, my car can go the speed limit, and that's all I need. Like, why do I need to go faster than that? Well, sometimes you want to go 100 miles an hour because it's fun and it's enthralling and invigorating. Sometimes you want to go to the track and see what your 0 to 60 time is with a plaid Tesla. Like you're not necessarily going to cruise at those speeds all the time. And we've talked about it before. We don't always watch our movies at reference, but it's sure fun to be able to put the foot on the gas from time to time and have super clean sound.
Cocaine Bear, I didn't watch at reference. I'm going to be honest. It didn't tickle the fancy of watching at reference volume. Dune, I hit the reference button on my remote. Absolutely. Now, just remember that when Jonathan is cruising in his Tesla Plaid, he took the THX module out of his Lincoln and put it into the Plaid. So he got the THX intro sound while he was going, and he tried to time the 0 to 60 with that.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, the tired old car analogies. I agree, Ryan Kramer. I shouldn't have done it, but I think that
he did.
I think it's accurate in this case. Okay, next one. Ezra says, wait, we already did this one.
We did that one.
Pavel says, what was fully active? Separately powered fiber HDMI. What was the fully active separately powered fiber HDMI Ryan mentioned?
So it was Celerity. There's a couple companies that make them. There's Celerity, Fiber Command. Rui Pro now has one. But they still fix a lot of issues. They don't fix all of them. The cable that I'm now recommending that we find is a little more reliable is made by Cords. The unfortunate thing about Cords is it's not available to the public. You have to go to a dealer. But the price point is about the same as something like a Celerity. It's not an outrageously expensive. You can get a 100 meter for 300, somewhere in there, which is pretty good. That's a long cable for $300. More expensive than a Rui Pro, but it works in a lot of situations where I couldn't get the Rui Pro or Celerity or a Fiber Command to work.
Next question. What are your thoughts on linear power supplies for Lumigens and MadVR? Lots of chatter on the forum about better video and sound from them. He's suspicious. Sounds like expensive snake oil. Do you have customers coming back to you with that question from a MadVR perspective?
No.
I have a suspicion, Erod, that this type of stuff is probably objectively measurable on the bench test, but in those realms that we humans would call inaudible in a blind test. That would be my suspicion.
There is, to put it frank, there are a lot of errors that occur in HDMI, right? Because timing has to be perfect. There's a lot of data being sent. There's a lot of variables. and HDMI. And it doesn't get it right every time. But the air correction, and this is the same in Ethernet and a lot of these digital connections, the air correction is so good. It doesn't matter. And as Jonathan said, I absolutely agree with him. There's probably a measurable difference between the normal power supply and a linear power supply. But like we talked about previously with distortion and synad scores that Audio Science Review puts out, above a certain threshold, it doesn't matter, right? So I don't buy into this. I would not worry about it. My analogy, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but think of it this way. You have photographers, videographers, studios, all kinds of people using Macs, PCs, and all kinds of things for video and image editing. They're using PC power supplies, which is what Envy's using. So what are you... Professionals are using it. Why is it different when we use it? The content was mastered on that. Should we not use it at home? And then you do that in like an Mad VR or Lumagen. What about everything else in the system? It's got HDMI. It's got HDMI. Are we just stop? It's like the power plug coming out of the wall. We're going to buy a $5,000 AC power cable, but we're going to leave everything else alone. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, I'll get off that. I know what you're talking about, though, Arod. I just don't buy into it.
So this is our last starred comment. And Ryan said he had to leave for sports stuff. So
Yep.
we'll probably end it pretty soon. But my PB, I think he said 3,000 earlier. I don't know. Maybe that was intentional, maybe not. Sound better than my friend's PSA TV21 iPals. His driver doesn't have as much excursion. Have you heard the PSA TV21 iPals? I haven't heard the TV21 iPals that I know of, unless they were at a show or something, but not in people's room that I recall.
I feel like if they were played at the same frequency, I don't know that you'd be able to tell the difference. Are the iPals being driven with the correct amp? Because those iPals need very specific types of power.
There's so many variables here that are very hard to, like, for you even having making this observation, for you even to conclude that is very difficult, because modes and nulls and seating arrangement and placement and configuration and EQ and the native frequency response of the driver and the box size and design, the airspace, all this weighs into it so much that you have so many variables, it's hard to shake a stick at it. By default, the way the SVS would configure the driver, it's going to have nice low excursion, and it's going to have a very flat response. That's the SVS trademark. PSA's trademark is not necessarily the same thing. PSA has more of a rising to a kick drum frequency, traditionally, stereotypically. So just out of the box, discounting everything, if you were to go outside and just put them on a field and listen to them, you would probably notice a difference between their frequency response. The SVS being more of an intentionally flat, and the PSA targeting more of a kick drum type, rising 60, 70, 80, 90 hertz response and a lower 20, 30 hertz end. When you put that in a room and you add EQ and you add the dimension variable with the modes and nulls and stuff, it's anyone's guess which one you're going to like better. And it probably wouldn't be the same if you put it in 3 different rooms.
Nope.
With 3 different systems. So it's going to be real hard for you to make that solid conclusion. And this just comes from other experience in this and measuring things in different rooms and just kind of like learning how this works. That's a real hard conclusion to make on your single observation there. May or may not be related to excursion, could be related to a lot of things. But to Ryan's point, if they are EQ'd the same and they are placed in the same place with the same room with the same equipment, good luck telling the difference.
Yep. And that 21's not going to need the level of excursion to keep up with the 4000. It's got more surface area.
Right. Which also makes it have less distortion. And so, there's too many variables to make that conclusion like you have. And I understand where that conclusion come from. And for years I had the same kind of mindset, but as you get into like measuring more rooms and using like your measuring equipment and learning about how moving the mic 2 foot makes such a difference and how EQ is
2 inches.
with bass frequencies more.
Well, yeah.
But with
I
speakers,
understand.
absolutely 2 inches. With bass frequencies more. At any rate, all that comes into play so much that you can't make a determination like that.
Yep. And there's a lot of subjective factors that come into this, potential subjective bias and all kinds of things, which is why blind and double blind tests are so important, putting speakers in the exact same position. All things Jonathan said. It's a pain in the butt to do legitimate comparisons and really eliminate a lot of the psychological components that drive a lot of what we like and dislike. So great answer. This is where I have to go because my wife's like, 4 minutes. We need to go. I liked doing it early.
Let's not establish any consistency, Ryan. Come on,
we already don't have any consistency. Let's not establish any consistency. None. People have no idea what's going to happen. We're just going to fly by the seat. We already do that. We fly by the seat of our pants. But you got anything to wrap up?
Nah, thanks. It's been fun.
Okay.
I missed you last night. You should have come over. I know you had things, but we'll have to do it again.
Who needs family?
No, you made the right choice.
We'll do it again. I think we're going for Grant next time. We got to get him to do it because he's got to do it before school, probably. Sheldon too, before school goes back. But we'll be back next week, probably. Maybe in the morning, maybe in the evening. Who knows? Who knows what day? But we'll be back at some point. So everybody stay safe out there. Enjoy your home theater journeys. I'm Ryan, joined as always by Jonathan.